Hi everybody. So in the previous videos we saw a couple of different ways of handling button events in our apps. And so we looked at writing an anonymous inner class for button handling, as well as adding an on-click attribute to the button itself in the XML file, and then writing a dedicated Java method for event handling. These are only two of the kind of discrete methods or approaches that are out there for button handling. There are others as well, but these are the only two I'm going to show you. And so a couple things you might be wondering. First of all, well, why are there different methods or different ways to start with? Well, and that's because anytime somebody develops a programming language or develops an environment like this for creating programs, in this case apps for Android devices, they're going to do two things. First of all, they're going to try to accommodate a lot of different approaches, and secondly, the language is going to evolve over time, or the environment is going to evolve over time. And so sometimes earlier approaches are going to be supplemented by later approaches. So you're always going to find different ways of doing things. But that kind of leads to the next question, which is which one should we use? Which is the best approach? And to some extent, there's really not a hard and fast answer to that. It's kind of an it depends type of question. The anonymous inner class is the approach that is used in the Hoisington book. So if you're trying to follow along and create the examples in that text, that's what they're doing, and so that'll give you some good practice in getting used to that. Setting up the on-click attribute in the Android or in the XML file and creating a dedicated method is, I think, for beginners especially, a little bit simpler to conceptualize and to kind of see what's going on, because you're not having to sort through, especially if you're new to Java. So you don't have to sort through kind of what all the pieces of the Java code are and kind of understand how they work together. But really, to some extent, it's a matter of personal preference. In terms of what I'm going to ask you to do for this class, I think that either of these approaches are just fine. And so, I would say kind of, go with the one that makes the most sense to you, just bearing in mind that the examples that you'll see in Hoisington do use an anonymous inner class. Once, you start developing a little bit more sophistication, there's some other considerations that go into that kind of choice about which one is best. And what I've kind of seen is that more of the sophisticated developers do tend to kind of prefer the anonymous inner class, and a lot of the main reasoning behind that is because it gives you kind of a clean, independent block of code for the event handling. Setting up a dedicated method with an on-click attribute means that there are two pieces of the code that have to exist in two different places, and they both have to be there and they both have to be set up correctly in order for them to work together. Now, is that a huge disadvantage? Well, not necessarily, but as your apps become more complex, as we have more views and more activities and just more going on, it gives you just that much more to keep up with. There are some other considerations as well, but they tend to be, a little bit more specialized. So, answer to the question, which is best? Well, neither one is really best. I would say try and use the one that is easiest for you to implement, certainly as you're starting out, which you are now. I am perfectly happy with either one. I hope this helps shed a little bit of light on the situation. I wish I could give you kind of a hard and fast, this is always the best way to do it response, but truth is there's not really that kind of an answer to give. So as with many things in programming, it comes down to judgment with respect to what's suitable for a situation. Y'all are still developing judgment, and it also comes down to kind of a preferred style. And what that really is all about is making sure that you've got a good grasp on the tools that you want to use to write your programs. Alright, so I'm going to stop this video here. There are going to be several other videos that are going to look at other types of user input, and so hope to see you in those.